Okay, hello and welcome to the Nevada State College Virtual Town Hall. This would be our fall 2021 edition. My name is Amber Lopez Lassiter, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as your Chief of Staff here at the college. We have an action-packed hour for you, and I want to quickly introduce the panelists, and then we'll jump right in. And in addition to the questions that were submitted ahead of time, we are continuing to take questions. So keep an eye out for links in the chat, as well as the best way to submit questions is through the Q&A portion at the bottom of your screen. So with us today, we have President Darian Pollard. We have, and then we have our NSSA representative, Tessa Spinosa. It's so funny because everyone's quiet, but I'm watching you guys. We need to do a coordinated wave for this next go around. We have Provost Shields, Executive Vice Provost Shinta, our HR Director, Eric Gilliland, Senior Vice President, Finance, Kevin Butler, and our Dean of Students, Stephanie Coleman. Yes, I like this. We also have Dr. Gregory Robinson in the background, as well as Amy Evaluna, who will also be helping fielding questions, as well as Danielle Welsh. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here and spending some time. I am now going to turn it over to Dr. Pollard.
Well, good morning, everyone. So good to see you, and welcome to this opportunity for us to dialogue and come together as a college community. We're going to jump right in on it because we have just an hour together today, but I would be remiss if I don't get to do the thing I love to do most, is to say thank you right up front. So let me just say there's a whole team of folks who makes this happen, starting with the phenomenal Miss Amy, who does exceptional work in coordinating this. All of our PR team who are behind the scenes, Eileen, Nick, Lanelda, Danielle, they are phenomenal. And then of course, those are the folks who feed us the questions and make sure things stay on time. Thank you for that. Nick, who made us all look nice and like we're going to the Oscars today or something. So just grateful to each and every one of you who do that. And those of you who show up to answer the questions. I'll be very clear up front. Our opportunity here is to promote communication and dialogue. And to the extent that we don't have an answer for a question that you asked, our commitment is to make sure that we get back to you. But I'm hopeful that we'll be able to talk about a lot of good things here today. The theme for today's town hall meeting is about our Back in Bold campaign, preparing for campus return for the spring semester. So let me be very thoughtful about this. We know, and the thing that attracted me the most to this institution was this very definitive culture that we have at Nevada State College, this culture that believes that we put robust and intentional support services around students, that we serve populations of students who need us now more than ever, that we recognize that we were created to be a different type of institution from others that may be existing right now in our NC world. We knew that the idea of deliberate, intentional, maybe even intrusive support is important. And we know that the relationships that our employees cultivate with our students in the community we serve are essential to our success. That speaks to our rapid growth. It also speaks to our value proposition in this community that we live in. So as a result of that, we are so pleased, and I charged a wonderful group of thinkers who are much smarter and far more beautiful than me. They came together and put together a really bold plan that we are calling Back in Bold. This idea that we are, as an organization, showing up for our students in all the spaces and places that we have, and continuing to recognize that evolution is going to occur in this process. To that end, we're very deliberate, and you'll be seeing a written communication that'll come from me either today or tomorrow, depends on how quickly I get done with editing. We will have that going out that says that in January, my expectation is that all employees will be returning to the campus facilities for their work. And interestingly enough, as someone pointed out to me just this morning, we've actually had that kind of transition moment happening this fall semester, where we had various arrangements occurring, many of us working remotely. For me, since I arrived, I think with the exception of maybe 3 days, I have been in the office every day because I think it's important. And when we saw students arrive back in August, it was such a very different experience. So for us, we know that we want to continue to see engagement be the high point of what we do here at Nevada State, but also very intentionally recognizing that enrollment is an important part of this. And knowing that we have done everything we can to make this an incredibly safe environment. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But first, the state of Nevada placed in front of us this recognition that our students needed to be vaccinated. So they have made that, and we know the students have been actively engaged with that process, and I'm very grateful to you who've been getting that information into us and all of our folks who are putting those things into the system so students can register. And then we also, our Board of Regents mandated that our employees be vaccinated. So as a result of that, between the heavy rotation of cleaning that we have, the mask environment that we still have right now as a result of our governor's directive, and because of the social distancing that we've continued to put in place and all of the enhancements around plexiglass and all the things that we've done, we feel that this campus is going to be an extremely important one for our students, because we know that we have worked very hard to keep it safe and to be responsive to those things that come through us from the CDC, the state of Nevada, and any place else that helps give us those directions. So we're excited. I'm excited to be able to see our employees come back and to see all of our offices starting to be filled, our students coming on campus, and the vibrancy of what a college campus is about is going to be what we're going to be engaged in. So we're going to jump right in today to some more questions. That was kind of my overview. I want you to continue to know between now and the end of the semester that you're actively engaged. If you're starting to come back in and follow us for information, please do that. We want you here. It's essential to what we do, and what we do, I think, exceptionally well at Nevada State. And I'm looking forward to walking the highways and byways of our area and walking the hallways to see so many folks back on campus. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Tessa, because if you think I'm pumped up about this, Tessa's on a whole new level, y'all, about this. And I want to thank Tessa for joining us and speaking to us from a student perspective. And then after Tessa, we'll throw it back to Dr. Amber to navigate us today. Tessa?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Pollard. I appreciate everything and just your words of encouragement, everything that you speak for. So, hey, everyone. I may know most of you, but many of you may not know me. I am Tessa Spinosa, student at Nevada State College. Currently, I am double majoring and minoring. My majors are communication and history. I am also the executive vice president of NSSA, the Nevada State Student Alliance. Before continuing, I just wanted to give a big shout out to the faculty here on campus for always helping the students and being the support we need during these difficult times. And to jump into things, what I'm most excited for spring 2022 is the connections I'll finally be able to make with other classmates. When campus has more in-person classes, I make more, sorry, I'm so nervous, but I'm really excited. But when campus has more in-person classes, I could be able to make bonds with those I'm studying with and potentially work with in the future. Ever since campus has opened up partially in the fall, I've been meeting amazing students from different backgrounds, just as excited as I am to be part of the caring, friendly, unique atmosphere and community we have here at Nevada State College. And for NSSA, for events that students and other exciting elements or supports needed related to returning to campus, NSSA is always trying to be the voice for what the students need in order for all of us to truly succeed. With that being said, NSSA is built up of 3 committees: the funding committee, involvement, and public relations, who all do fantastic work. So far within NSSA, there have been many exciting events. Our big event we were able to have again was Scorpions Calling, which is a Nevada State College signature event. We like to have this event every fall to reconnect students to campus and to have something to look forward to. There are also craft series every month that we like to plan for students during difficult times and different times to help them relax and also continue to build a sense of trust and care within our community. If you want to know more about our events or what we have planned, you can always check our beengaged.nsc.edu. We always have the most updated information there. To continue with the support, we also have created 6 scholarships for students of different backgrounds, which is currently open now. And the deadline is November 21st at midnight. There's also funding to help support students who plan to attend graduate school. Furthermore, if there's anything that you don't see or would like to see in the spring semester, send us your feedback. We're always open to it. NSSA has exciting plans next semester, and we look forward to seeing you in the spring. If you'd like to reach out, our email is nssa@nsc.edu and or studentlife@nsc.edu. Thank you so much, and I appreciate all your work.
Thank you so much, Tessa. That was fantastic. Obviously, it goes without saying, but our dynamic students are the very reason that we are all here. And I had the opportunity to spend a little time with Tessa earlier in the semester. And as you just witnessed, her excitement is palatable and I love it. So thank you so much for being here and for all the work you do with NSSA. Now we have the opportunity to hear from our Dean of Students, Dr. Stephanie Coleman. Yes, you in the gold.
Hi, everyone. And I think what I love most about NSC is NSSA and just the energy from our students. I can't wait to have you guys all back. But anyway, as always, the Office of Student Life has planned a vibrant, energetic, exciting spring semester. Much more excitement is expected because most, if not all of our events will be in person. And after the showing of Welcome Week, that was a great preview of things to come. Students were all over the place in RSC. They were small groups, larger groups. They were laughing, mingling, meeting, eating. Everybody was masked. They were having a really great time. We want to capture that same energy this spring semester. Our housing students have already seen the increase in activities in the community building just about every month. It's paint night, group gaming, wellness seminar, sister circle, resident appreciation, book club, podcast. The RAs and the housing staff, they are creating just a number of interactive, engaging activities for our housing students. So if you're not in housing, please consider that because that's definitely the place to be with students just engaging and getting to know one another and thriving off of everybody else's energy. The RSC Welcome Desk will now be known as the Student Involvement Hub. Students will always know what is happening on campus and when and where it's happening. We've got some really great student workers downstairs who have that energy, that excitement about being back on campus. And let me tell you, it's contagious. When you're around the three of them, you really want to attend something. You're looking for something to do on this campus. Student meetings will be back on campus and in person, as well as our student service areas, all open for business, the food pantry, counseling, DRC, advising, the student lounge. I love walking past the student lounge and seeing students who are online students, but they came to campus for their online classes. I love seeing that. And I think I'm most excited about this next announcement, a little drum roll. The campus shuttle is returning. Yes, no more walking from RSC to the LAS building. Seriously, no more walking from Dawson, from housing or housing to Raker. You'll probably hear a little bit more about the campus shuttle from somebody else, but just wanted to announce that it's returning. And the shuttle will be ready to ride in the spring semester. Personally, I will be working with our operations team for the location of some artificial turf. This is something that NSSA last year definitely requested, like, is there a space on campus where we can just have some green space to sit, to read, to maybe eat outside, read a book? Yes, we are definitely going to be scouting around for that type of space. And nothing says college campus than seeing students sitting out on the green, reading a book, throwing a Frisbee. So I'm really excited about starting to scout that out. But I'm real excited about this next program that Office of Student Life is hosting or starting. It's called the Passport Program, and we're probably going to give it a better name. But essentially, students will pick up an NSC passport during Welcome Week or at the Involvement Hub, and you're going to earn a stamp every time you visit or utilize a certain service or a certain space here on campus. You attended an event, you joined a club, and maybe a few other surprising areas where you can earn a stamp. Anyway, a completed passport means something fabulous at the end of the semester. I don't want to spoil any of Phil Lamott's planned surprises for that big reveal, but it's going to be great. It's going to encourage students to go to the various areas, go visit the various services on campus, attend many of the events that we're going to host, and it's going to be an exciting time had by all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Coleman. For our next panelist, I do feel like we needed an intro with some AC/DC, but we are going to move to Dr. Tony Shinta to talk a little bit about the Back and Bold.
Thanks, Amber. So first, a quick correction. President Pollard had said that we all look like we're going to an awards ceremony. And we do, but I'm looking at myself and my hair and what's going on there. And I feel like I'm going to the awards ceremony for the technical awards, the one that they do it separately and they don't air it on television. They just put up like a screenshot of who won. That's what I'm going to. So in any event, setting that aside, I'm here to talk about the employee engagement facet of Back in Bold. And I talked to the leadership team about this last week. I'm amazed and grateful when I look at what everyone has done to get the college through an exceptionally challenging time, one of the most challenging times in our history as an institution. But at the same time, I think we recognize that the college that we managed to keep afloat and keep moving forward over the past 20 months is not the best version of Nevada State College. The best version of Nevada State College is the one we're approaching. And spring is a big step towards that best version of Nevada State College. But we also recognize, even though there's a lot of excitement oriented around this idea of approaching the best version of Nevada State College, there's also some apprehension. There's still concern. There's inertia. You do something a particular way for 20 months, there's inertia going in a particular direction. And so, we want to do what we can. The circumstances are now right. We have a vaccination. We have a context where we can take that step towards the best version of Nevada State. But within our power, we want to do what we can to help move that momentum in a new direction, to minimize some of the apprehension and maximize the excitement about being back in Bold and coming back and being together and doing things that are the best versions of ourselves. And so to do that, on the employee side, one of the things that's happened is a working group has been established with representatives from across the campus who are going to think about the things we can do and how we can be responsive in order to have the most exciting version of Back in Bold for our employees on campus. And there's a few primary components that have already been chalked up for this effort. One of these overarching elements is awareness. So this is apprising the campus of what this entails with postcard mailers and Back in Bold buttons. You could see marketing, I believe, has already cooked up a nifty little Back in Bold symbol that we could turn into buttons. It's campus signs, it's updates from our president, it's essential employee highlights, shining a spotlight in the folks who did amazing things during the most dire circumstances. So there's an awareness component. That's the first of four. Next is collaboration, and that's having an events committee. It's putting our alternative work schedule out there, which has already begun, and collecting feedback and moving towards the best version of being an innovative campus, and also soliciting ideas from folks about what Back in Bold might entail. Like what are our faculty and staff looking for in Back in Bold as we make this big return? And then there's an element that's just called fun, which I think is apt. And that involves Back in Bold t-shirts and Scorpion Spirit Day and Fun Fridays, where there could be things like scavenger hunts or movies or bring your kids to work. There is Food Truck Fridays. Now, I don't know if every last element has been absolutely confirmed, but there's talk about Food Truck Fridays. I think we marshal enough support, we could make it happen. And even sports outings, things we can do in that arena, like a skate night. This has been overtaken. I've been a hockey person since I was about 2, but this town has been overtaken by hockey on some level. And so maybe we can get a bunch of folks out there actually skating on a rink. So, and then the fourth element to this is oriented around wellness. And so that will include back in the office tips, strategies and advice about getting back into the groove in the best version of Nevada State College, midday mind resets, yoga, meditation, employee assistance program resources that exist, but will ensure people are apprised of, and even emergency financial assistance. So there are 4 primary elements that we want to bring forward for the employees at Nevada State as part of Back in Bold: awareness, collaboration, fun, and wellness. And then, as I had noted, we also are soliciting ideas. I believe Amy is going to put this in the chat or somewhere where everyone can see it. Maybe it's even on. Oh, it's here. All right. Submit your ideas to backandbold@nsc.edu, and we'll take those into account and do what we can to bring these ideas to reality. And that is
Wonderful. You're not going to close out with a joke. I'm kind of disappointed.
my hair is the joke. It's the gift that keeps giving. So I don't have to say anything else.
Copy that. Well, thank you. I think that all sounds fantastic. I do want to officially nominate Danette to be the ice skating captain. I know she's been working to get a number of folks to Lifeguard Arena. If you haven't been already, it's fantastic. I also went to Skate City over the weekend and broke out the old school roller skates. So lots of ways to have fun. Now we get an opportunity to hear from our provost, Dr. Shields.
Good morning, everyone. I want to speak a bit to the academic experience, both the faculty experience and what the modalities of classrooms are going to be in the spring, and some expectations around all of that. So I want to start by saying, we know that our population of students obtain a transformational experience when we employ all of the great institutional things that we have built over the years. The small classes, the individualized connection and attention from professors, and tailored in-person support services. We all know this. We also know that we are yearning for the unique family-like culture that is Nevada State. And community is nurturing for a sense of connectedness and belonging and well-being and positive energy. And national trends, as well as higher education literature on high impact practices, tell us that our first and second year students excel with a broad slate of in-person courses, a full array of on-campus supports and services, and a renewed access to face-to-face resources, activities, and experiences. At the same time, we also recognize that the pandemic has helped us become more versatile as an institution, enabling us to improve our delivery and quality of online courses and services. And we should continue to leverage that versatility as a reflection of our improved student readiness. Expectations. So we've talked a lot about expectations. I want to talk a little bit more about academic faculty. So expectations to be back are a little broader for academic faculty, but it does include in-person office hours. We'll get into more details about that in the coming weeks. But if you think about, even if you're doing one-on-one with students remotely, because the student wants to do office hours remotely, if you're in the office, you're part of the vibrant departmental culture. So if we can think about it that way, because I know I've heard it's like almost students want to do office hours online. And maybe the whole time you're in there, you will be online with students, but then you'll be up and you'll be in the hallways and you'll be talking to your colleagues and talking to your dean. And that sense of community can come back that we all really need. So, just remember you're part of the departmental culture, and that's in person. So I've been asked about enrollments for spring. There's some trepidation about it. And, we don't know. We're 4 days into registration, but what I can tell you from Sandeep is that each of those days has surpassed enrollments from last quarter. Last semester. So that's all we really know right now. So there's a lot of variables. we can't really predict, but I do want to say this. People have asked questions about how dire it could be if our enrollments really plummet. Will people lose their jobs? How, we've gone to that place. I would say no one should panic right now, that we're very solvent in our budget, and we're planning as usual. So right now we're planning for personnel requests and for initiative requests, just like we always do. And we'll see how it all unfolds. But I think everyone should not be too panicked if our enrollments are lower than we're used to. We've gotten questions about what modalities we're going to be in. I just want to thank everyone in the school offices, all the staff, the dean's offices, the faculty, the chairs, everybody that's listened and worked so hard on this schedule to get it balanced for our students. And right now, we have 58% of our class sections in person or hybrid. Okay, that's compared to 14% this fall. If you count synchronous online, we're almost to 60%. This is probably more the range we're going to be in going forward, probably a 60-40 mix between fully online, asynchronous or synchronous, and 60% in person or hybrid. So we're almost hitting that mix that we think will probably maybe end up with going forward. So thank you, everyone. It was a big lift. It's a really big lift in the schools. And I want to congratulate everyone that did that. I know people are curious about how it looks in the different schools. So just quickly, the School of Education has always delivered a large portion online. And so they are pretty much coming back in spring in the same proportions they were pre-COVID. And that's 40% in person and hybrid. And liberal arts and sciences is coming back at 52% in person or hybrid. Once again, that doesn't take into account synchronous online. So they're a little higher if you count that. And the School of Nursing is coming back at 91% in person and hybrid. So it is going to feel a lot different in the classroom, around the classroom, outside of the classroom. And that was a big lift. And I just really want to thank everyone in schools and that made that happen.
Wonderful.
I will
Thank you.
stop there.
Thank you. So we do see your questions coming in. Please continue to submit them. As soon as all of the panelists have presented and spoken to a number of the questions that were submitted ahead of time, we will come back around to those. And now we have the pleasure to hear from our Senior Vice President, Kevin Butler. And I hate to say this, Kevin, but you're on mute. I feel like you owe me a Coke or something.
I didn't have a lot to say anyways, so I figured I'd just leave the mute on. Thank you, everybody. You know, we built a phenomenal campus here. I really would like to welcome everybody back to really use it and to move forward. And we're doing a lot of work to make sure that everybody's comfortable in doing that. I know that everybody's a little bit concerned coming back and wondering how we can keep this environment safe. But that's exactly what we aim to do. We have hand sanitizer stations placed throughout the campus. Masks are available at a variety of locations on campus. We have touchless thermometers in every building, including in the Christensen building. So, I mean, we just built a new building and we have thermometers in that one. So, so there's a lot of opportunity for individuals to really take care of themselves, because that's really one of the ways that we can be the most effective in making sure that we're safe from this virus. All of the high-touch surfaces on campus are cleaned by facility staff at least twice daily, and again, once more in the evening. All of the classrooms and the common areas have spray bottles of disinfectant and paper towels, again, for individuals to self-clean their areas. We've put a whole bunch of plexiglass all over the campus. I think I said once before in the town hall that we have more plexiglass than a plexiglass factory. And we still have more available. If we need it, we'll put it up where it's needed for those areas where there is close interaction. Our heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, I mean, because we're such a new campus, they're extremely efficient. And and they always have continuous flow of air, so that aerosols don't just sit around in our ducts and linger in one place. Even at our lowest setting, 100% of inside air in our buildings are replaced every 2.5 hours. And we can adjust that so that it can be replaced even more frequently. And Rick was telling me this morning that where we're moving right now into the early part of spring and everything is actually a higher rate of flow than what we normally use during the summer. It's kind of interesting. So we're actually sucking in more outside air and refreshing the buildings more frequently as we're coming back in the spring. We also use extremely efficient filters, air filters in our systems. MERV 10 and MERV 13, for those of you that are MERV fanatics and know what that means. But this helps to remove contaminants from the air. Not only are we making the environment safe, but we also want it to be like it was before the pandemic and bring back all of the services that we offered. So our food services is back and with expanded hours and offering their full range of food services. The campus shuttle, as Stephanie indicated, is back. We already have one shuttle driver ready to jump in, and we're recruiting for a couple more so that I don't have to go out and get a CDL license. That would be frightening for everybody. But just keeping everything safe. Unfortunately, the pilot for the campus commuter, which is the shuttle that runs the shiny bus, as I say, that runs back and forth from the CSN campuses in North Las Vegas all the way to Nevada State. We're going to defer that back. It was a pilot program, and we really need to get good data to be able to assess that. And in addition, we partner with CSN on that. So we want to be able to, when we bring that service back, make sure that we're able to promote it effectively and make sure that it has every chance of being a successful pilot. And we're just at a place right now where there isn't going to be sufficient time to move that forward. But RTC is back on campus. They're still running their routes. We do have discounted bus passes available in the cashier's office in the bookstore. And so all of those services are back. I do need to shamelessly plug the State Safe app again, because I think this is something that we really want everybody to download and have on their phone. Not only is it a great emergency tool for you, you can chat directly with the dispatch. Oh wow, there it is. You can chat directly with the dispatch, if you're feeling unsafe or if you need assistance or anything like that. It's extremely versatile. There are applications where you can locate specialty areas, such as specialty restrooms and other areas on campus. You can even click on School Dude, which is our facilities maintenance system, and and report any facilities concerns that you have. If maybe there's a light bulb out, or there's a crack in the sidewalk that's causing a trip hazard or anything like that, we want to know about those things. And so you can help us continue to make our campus a safer place. Looking forward to seeing you back on campus.
Wonderful, thank you. I still haven't figured out this school dude, why it's called that, but I'm gonna go with it. It's tripped me up on a couple emails. All right, now we have the privilege to hear from our HR director, Eric Gilliland. Eric.
Make sure I'm unmuted and don't pull a Kevin here. And I don't know how this happened. I've been placed between you all and your Q&As. So I'm going to be brief so that we can get to that because I know that's important. Just want to start. I want to echo some of the previous comments and share my excitement for this back and bold approach and to get back to campus in January. I've noticed over the fall semester as I've come to campus and I've seen more of my colleagues and the energy and the vibrance that's happening with those in-person discussions just makes me excited to be back. And I would agree, having our employees back for our students are why we are here, is critically important, but I'm HR, so I've also got to throw in how important those interactions with our colleagues are. So that's the philosophy, the approach that we want to take as we come back in January is to re-engage with one another in person and start to move the campus back to I don't know the term, this new normal, future normal, but in any case, we're going to be in it together and we're going to find this success and we're going to continue to have success together. So there's my little plug. Secondly, here, I want to share what I typically always share at the beginning of meetings because I think it's a celebration, and that's our current vaccination rate for our employees. We are currently at 89%, which is fantastic. We are one of the highest in the system. And I think that speaks to the commitment that our employees have to health and safety on our campus. And I think also to a commitment to we want to get back. We want to get back to where we were or as close as to where we were. And start driving the success for our students and ourselves. So very excited. Next piece, I'm sure you're all anxiously awaiting. I can confirm that we are in the process of developing the alternative work arrangement policy. There's been previous communications on that. This is the first time we've had this. It's the first time I think a lot of higher ed institutions are going to have a policy like this. And I mentioned that just to highlight, we want to do it right. We want to be thoughtful in our approach. We want to make sure that we are creating a process and a flexibility that's equitable across our entire campus, but also supports and aligns with our public institution mission as a campus first institution. So we need to balance that. Because we need to be thoughtful, because we want to do this right, there is going to be a transitional period before this is in place. We're working on it now. We are sharing with various groups and stakeholders on campus, make sure that we're getting their feedback, make sure that we're meeting the needs of everybody and doing what's right for the institution. So we anticipate that in the spring, possibly early spring, we'll have a policy finalized. With that policy is going to be a component for training. So we're going to ask all of our supervisors and employees who may seek an arrangement to attend a training to go over the policy, learn about the policy, get some best practices for how to review and approve these arrangements. Again, so we have equity and we're inclusive in this approach. Because of those processes, we are looking at around a July 1 launch date for any approved plans. So we recognize, and I know there was a question, that gives us a time period between January and June 30th. And as mentioned, the expectation is that we're going to be back on campus. We're going to use that time to evaluate what our needs are as a campus within this new normal and help drive that policy. We recognize that this may create some anxiety, may create some concern amongst our employees. The Back and Bold campaign, as Tony mentioned, and Stephanie, with the students and employees, it's designed to help ease that transition back, to give you avenues to be able to feel comfortable being back on campus, to be comfortable interacting in group settings or what the case may be. Tony mentioned EAP services. I believe a link will be shared at some point. I'm a champion of EAP. I know there's a stigma around EAP that it is only for if I'm dealing with depression or I'm dealing with these very severe situations. EAP is not that. EAP offers a variety of services from financial planning to childcare to those mental health, those wellness pieces. And I would encourage any one of you, if you're feeling like you need to use those services, please use those services. They are free to every employee, including our student workers. I've used it. It's a fantastic service. It helps to get over humps or to work through anxiety concerns with COVID. Our EAP does have some COVID specific return to work specific resources. And so a link, I believe, will be shared to the webpage that has all that information. And then lastly, I know I'm not brief here, as I said I was going to be, just a quick comment on health and safety protocols. Kevin mentioned what the campus has done and continues to do. I think that's a message that everybody has, is we're taking every effort to make sure that we have a health and safely learning and working environment. I'm struggling here talking today. And with that, our health and safety protocols, the mask mandate remains in place for students and employees. I would say we all play a role in making sure the campus stays safe. So if you're seeing, I hate to use the word non-compliance, but I'll use it in terms of mask mandates, you do have the ability to ask that individual to, hey, pull your mask up over your nose or down under your chin. You do have that ability. We all have that role. We may have formal roles here at the campus where we have to do that, but we all play that role. If you're not comfortable doing that, go to your supervisor, come to me, go to, Stephanie might jump through the screen, go to Stephanie if it's a student, so that we can address that and that we can ensure that we maintain safety here on campus. I will say, since we've gone remote, I've had very few, if any, issues related to that. And I think, again, that speaks to the commitment that our faculty and staff have to the success of this campus. And that success goes beyond the academics. It goes to the health, safety, well-being of all of our colleagues. So with that, I will mute, I will be quiet, and we will open up Q&A.
Wonderful, thank you. So we are to the Q&A portion. This is going to be a lightning round. I'm going to channel my inner Pat Sajak. Winner gets all expense paid trip around campus on the shuttle in January. So first question to you, Eric. How will quarantine needs be addressed for employees that don't have sick or annual leave, student workers, LOA, 1,000-hour, et cetera?
So prior to the fall semester, this shifted. Pre-fall semester, administrative leave was available to all employees. Prior to the fall semester, that transitioned to leave eligible employees. If they were not able to work remotely, they would be eligible, but our part-time, our student workers and our non-student hourly workers were not eligible for admin leave. And that would continue to be the case into the spring semester. What I would say is we'll want to look case by case basis. If we have a student, all of our employees will need to be vaccinated January 1st. So we'll need to look at case by case basis. If we have someone who's got a COVID situation who can't come to campus because they need to quarantine, we definitely want to look at that. We want to be flexible. I don't think this return in January is not a punishment. It's a celebration to come back, but we know that COVID remains. The big piece, and I failed to mention this in my monologue, as a campus, we need to decouple the emergency COVID remote work, telecommute pieces from what is going to be our future with this alternative work policy. So we will start to look at those separately and consider those situations separately through the different processes. If you have a situation that comes up, if you're a supervisor, my email is always open. Reach out to me, let's talk through it and see what we can do to make sure that our folks remain successful.
Great, thank you. This next question is for Dr. Pollard. And the person says, I share an office with another colleague, so working from home has helped when one of us either feels sick or needs privacy for a meeting, especially since our desks are less than 6 feet apart. Will there be flexibility allowed for those of us who share an office?
So I think a couple things with that. One is that we are, as an organization, should view the spring semester as a transition period. We clearly recognize that before COVID, there was a set of circumstances, and post-COVID, there are going to be another set of circumstances that we need to keep in mind as we start thinking about the next pandemic. Because the reality about this is that our globe is evolving so fast, sometimes de-evolving, that we'll have to be addressing these types of challenges in the near future as well. So what I would offer to you in this space is that if there's a unique circumstance in this where you have offices that are, and you have adjacencies that are that close, have a conversation with your supervisor. There's an opportunity for us to explore that. With the soon coming alternative work policy, this might be something that you might be able to address as rationale. I also know that Mr. Butler has raised on me in several points about space issues that we have. But I also think that as an organization, we're going to have substantive conversations about what these types of spaces look like in the future. I don't have an answer to say yes or no. What I do believe is that we'll sit down as a college and figure those out. We're also following what the CDC guidelines say. And the CDC guidelines, interestingly enough, are in a constant state of evolution. As we learn more about the virus, as we start to have higher levels of vaccination, as we start to look at all of the things that go to help create healthy and safe environments, of which you heard many of them detailed here that we've already implemented at Nevada State. Our hope is that these spaces will continue to be as safe and more safe maybe than what they were before, because we're also much more aware. And we also want to continue to say that I've seen employees do this already, work in different spaces. This idea of how we will continue to be a modern employer and start to evolve over time, I think is going to be a great part of this conversation. All of this will not happen overnight. So what some of the questions I saw, and which we've tried to address thoughtfully in our conversation today, is when is this going to happen? We're coming back in January. This needs to be done. This needs to be done. This needs to be done. The reality about this is that this is evolving. Higher education was not prepared for these conversations. We are not New Hampshire University, where we are all remote. So we are trying to evolve as quickly as we can, deliberately, and being as planful as we can. So I ask your grace and patience as we work this out, but also high communication, talking with your supervisor, helping us so we can, those of us who have to make these decisions about this are able to do so in a very thoughtful and intentional way. Thank you, Dr. Amber.
Thank you. This one's coming back to you also.
Oh.
Now that there is housing, are you planning on hiring a nurse or a physician for any sort of checkups?
That's a really great question. We have not yet. I'm assuming there's probably some conversation going through as we just started the budgeting process for the next fiscal year. I did overhear that there are a series of dates that are coming through in terms of personnel requests and new initiatives. I don't know if this is one of the ones that are there, but I also, I'm kind of the opinion as an organization, is there an opportunity for us to think about how we partner to provide those things? What is our distinctive and competency as an institution? We know we'll have approximately right now, when housing is full, 350, 360 residents who could live in the villages. The question for us is going to be, how do we partner with other entities to provide the supports and services that we need? At the same time, what are the things that we need to provide as an institution of higher education ourselves? And I think a lot of that is evolving. As we look at the development of our property, is there an opportunity for us to think about a healthcare provider that may be able to come in and provide support both to students and employees, but also to the community at large? So I think these are some of the questions we're looking at, but I'll see how the budgeting process will go. As Mr. Kevin shared with many of you yesterday, we are planning for a flat budget. So that, and I really appreciated something I heard him say in that conversation. That does not mean that everything is flat. It's about how the overall Z at the end of this is going to be flat from where we were this year, but how we redistribute within that is going to be a series of give and takes around expenses and revenues. So I think that this is a great question, and I look forward to seeing what comes up through the budgeting process this year. Thank you.
Wonderful. Dean Coleman, can you speak a little more about the proposed green spaces on campus?
Sure. So last budget cycle, this was something that we proposed about having something maybe the size of 3 times the basketball court. and where could we actually locate this green space area? So then COVID happened. So what we know is it's a little bit more expensive than I anticipated, but we still want to move forward with this idea of having just this outdoor area where students can sit and relax and sit on some artificial turf grass, potentially throw a Frisbee. So we're not talking anything the size of a football field, but definitely something small and intimate that we don't have to move just in case we build another building and we're in the vicinity of where we would like this new building to be. So we really want to be strategic that wherever we do land this green space, it would complement whatever new building or new space on campus that we need to have to expand the campus. So we're still kind of talking and figuring it out, but it is here and available for us to locate on campus. We're just trying to figure out where exactly is the best place to place the space.
Wonderful, that's exciting. Next question is for Provost Shields. It sounds like there's a plan to ask faculty to do in-person office hours. Is this the case? How can faculty be forced to do this? Who would monitor this?
Well, it's more of a cultural expectation. I was talking to the deans at Dean's Council yesterday, and this is not, an unusual request at other institutions across the nation and in the state. It's a work in progress, but there will not be a policing. We're hoping there'll be a cultural expectation that this is the best for our students and our in-person atmosphere. And so the details are yet to be worked out. It'll be part of the alternative work policy discussions. It'll be part of the school standards of academe discussions, but the deans are very supportive of ways to have faculty back on campus, not just for office hours, but for in-person meetings. And so it's a work in progress, but we think it's a very positive step for being back in bold.
Wonderful, thank you. And this next question, I believe Stephanie and others feel free to jump in, but when will the committee release holds on account for the exemptions due to COVID and other vaccinations?
I will tell you that process is definitely something that we take serious. So it's not as easy as reading, clicking a button, and it's been approved. So I think we have we've asked for a little flexibility with that turnaround time. We may be at a 3 to 5 day turnaround time at this point. But again, I want to stress the process that we're doing right now, because we want to make sure that that it's done fair. It's taking some time. And again, we are just asking for a little grace, and we understand the importance of students and registering for classes. So we definitely we're moving swiftly. And again, I feel pretty confident that it will be that 3 to 5 day turnaround time for those exemption holds to be lifted. If anybody else wants to add to that, definitely feel free to adjust what I just said or add to it.
The only thing I'll add is that as a part of the process, once the committee has made its decision, any student that is appealing a decision of that, those appeals come to me. And I am very clear, as Dr. Coleman is, I'm being very deliberative about those. So I was not going to be a sit down and read them and make a decision immediately, because one, I want to honor the process that the committee engaged in. I want to review the materials and considerations that they may have made in that, and then be able to have an informed perspective based on what the applicant is saying, as well as what general health practice is saying, and perhaps what we're also seeing published in other spaces that provide guidance to higher educational leaderships in this space. What I will also offer is that I take this very seriously because my decision is a final one. So I want to be very deliberative and thoughtful about that, and then honor both the integrity of the applicant as well as the integrity and professionalism of the committee. So again, to mimic the words of Dean Coleman, grace we ask for, but also a little bit of patience. We are working through this so that we can treat students equitably and also be able to explain where necessary the decisions that we make. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Next question is for Kevin. Is each person who enters the NSC buildings required to be fully vaccinated? That includes students, staff, and all types of personnel.
Not going to make the same mistake twice. Great question. That's a great question. The current policy requires employees, and then the other policy will require students to be fully vaccinated. But the policy also requires any contractors that would come onto campus to also be fully vaccinated, and that the contractors will ensure that their employees that come onto campus are also vaccinated. I don't believe, and Eric, correct me, I don't believe that there is a current requirement for visitors to be fully vaccinated, but basically everyone else.
That's, yeah, correct. So visitors or guest lecturers do not have to be, and I do think it's only new vendors.
Yeah, I think we might want to chat about guest lecturers, because if they are contracted, then I believe that they do need to be required. So that was a current discussion at the Business Officers Council. I don't believe that there has actually been a final decision made on that, but from what the universities are discussing, they believe that guest lecturers fall under contractors.
Thank you.
Whether compensated or not.
This next question is for President Pollard. Can the new remote work policy be sent out? I think that would minimize questions if we knew what the policy was. Curious to know what alternative hybrid work schedules are allowable, with some specific examples listed. I will also say I appreciate, from what I've heard, that Dr. Pollard and team are allowing some forms of flexible work schedules. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and I think you actually answered the question in your provide a response in your question. I have a very, part of my background is in policy development and governance. I have a pretty strong background in that, and I think that there should be an iterative process to policy development. One is that when a policy is developed and drafted, it then has an appropriate level of review, and that may be multiple levels of that before it is disseminated to the broader institution. So as a result of that, my perspective is that when the policy was first developed and drafted by the team that I charged, gave them some guiding principles, they went in and developed a policy looking at best practices and guidance from some leading entities across the country. Then the executive team reviewed that, gave constructive feedback, and last week we took that to the leadership team. And here's a reason that's important about this, why we have not distributed broadly yet, is because that leadership team, which really looks at operational implementation of policy, gave very thoughtful and deliberative feedback that had we just put the policy out in the Ethernet of the college, it could have just had the potential to cause more confusion or left a lot of gaps and spaces that should have been answered. So as a result of that, that policy draft is coming back to the leadership team at its meeting this month. And then after that, we will be then sending that out to the college community through our governance system and allowing folks the opportunity to offer feedback, to give constructive critique of it, and then begin to move through a process of implementation. This speaks to another question. Someone asked, well, can we get the policy implemented earlier? No, we can't. A policy, because it is an institution, should take time to be done, should be done well, and should not be rushed. I'm also of the opinion that policy should be implemented where possible in routines of typically twice a year. I prefer at the beginning of a fiscal year or at the beginning of a calendar year. That allows you to kind of know how you begin to procedurally implement a policy. So we know that if we can get this policy drafted and reviewed and vetted in such a way that we actually have a policy in January, this policy has two very important components: mandated training for supervisors and those people who want to participate or avail themselves of the various options that are in it. And then secondly, it also requires a process of approvals that have to go through. And that's a series of conversations that have to happen between an employee and his or her manager or supervisor, and then up and down the chain, because a signature is an authority and it is a statement about approval. So as a result of that, we're going to, as an organization, take the time to do this right, because we don't get the chance to go back and revisit it often. And we want to make sure it's something that stands the test of time. So I am hopeful by the end of this month, we'll have something that can start to go out. And then we also recognize the academic calendar. We're in the holiday seasons, we're getting ready to go through finals and so forth. So we also know that there are holding in our mind two thoughts at the same time: the regular college business and also this work that has to be done to get this policy implemented. Thank you for the question and appreciation of what we're trying to do.
Thank you. And along the same vein, and I know you've spoken to this throughout this town hall, but this person shares, so I'm hearing we need to return to work on campus for spring, but we won't know about the alternative work policy until July 1st. Does returning to work mean working in offices 5 days a week starting January? Many departments currently are working hybrid. Is there still an option to work hybrid in spring semester, since this is still a transition period?
So the transition period was this fall. We did a transition period from August to December, and that was our opportunity. And as we've seen COVID numbers lessen, as we've seen vaccination requirements and other health considerations go into place, we had hybrid. Actually, let's start off with emergency remote work, and then we moved into a hybrid. And this semester, we kind of had this back and forth as we saw the virus expand and contract and so forth. So the best way of saying this is that the reality is that we're no longer in a transition moment. January, we are back and bold. We are embracing this environment and all the constraints that have been put in place to make it healthy, to make us aware of what our obligations and commitments are as employees to our students, and also how we as students and employees have to show up for each other in these spaces. So we are coming back, and then we're going to do a reset. And here's the thing, why this is important. This policy dictates a level of conversation, and you all have to sit down and say, what does this look like in our area for us to have some version of hybrid? Because here's the thing, this is not a right, it's a privilege. And our mission is at the top of this, how we deliver our mission, how we support our students, how we ensure we provide the services to our peers across the institution that we need to provide. And then how do we design a work environment that allows us to do those top three things? So as a result of that, you have to sit down and navigate that. If all of us want to have a flexible work week where we're working 4/10s in an area, and therefore we have to figure out, how does this work to make sure that we're still open during the time that the institution is supposed to be open? How do we make sure we still deliver on the mission and services that we are required to deliver upon? Those are negotiations that have to occur. Those are conversations, and to assume and force them into a tight time frame to get them done is not. And we have to reset, because we also have to see how our students show up, how our community shows up. And this is my last point, and I've said this in another space. We are a public institution. We have investments that are made in us by the taxpayers of this area, by the state of Nevada, and all the things that go with that. And I know taxes are a very different structure in Nevada. At the end of the day, we have to be able to demonstrate fiscal sustainability and fiscal awareness and good stewardship of the resources that have been invested in us as an organization. So while we may see companies like Google and others, kind of go all in on a lot of different things, the expectations and culture for them are very different than what we have as a higher educational institution that delivers public higher education. So we have to figure out what that looks like. And I would offer to you, we're going to be a modern employer. We're making significant, actually my next meeting after this is with Eric to continue talking about how we start to develop human resource practices that meet the needs of our employees where we are now. But it is not going to be an overnight process, but it also is not going to be a elongated one. We're going to make some changes. We're going to be incremental with it, deliberate with it. And at the end of that, make sure that we are not compromising on our mission. I thank you for that question. Great one.
Thank you. And this is along the same lines, I think just needs some clarification, but says there's a concern that academic faculty have not been part of the process of the initial drafting and resulted in the robust conversation, quote unquote, that happened at the leadership team meeting. Please include our Senate and NFA representation in the drafting process and follow shared governance procedures to ensure appropriate vetting.
So I think there's a misinformation that's there. So let me correct that. This is an administrative policy, and a part of the job of administrators or those who lead the organization at this level is to develop policy for vetting. And that's exactly what we did here. We developed the policy. I had very frank conversations with leadership, both with our classified, our faculty, and even with our students to let them know that this was coming. We sat down and drafted that policy, and then it went to the leadership team, of which we have faculty leadership on that team. They offered robust and thoughtful and intentional conversations about that. In fact, they have been asked to offer more in other spaces as well as it relates to this. So I'm hopeful that we can manage the message here that's very deliberate. This is a policy that we know is a product of the work that our Board of Regents gave us authority to do. And they did that, and we've developed this policy. We are vetting that through our governance system. And at the same time, I'm going to offer to you is that this policy is something that's going to take the appropriate time to get done. So to get that vetting done is almost contradictory to an earlier conversation that someone said that, but can we hurry and get it done? In order to get the vetting done and to get the feedback, it takes time to do that. So I'm hopeful I've corrected that misinformation, because indeed we have had academic faculty at the table who've been actively engaged with that. And I would tell you, I listen to them and they know how to find me when they have feedback about it. As a matter of fact, I've sought them out for advice and counsel when issues have come up. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And we only have a handful of questions left. So thank you everyone for hanging in here with us. One is, and I think this will probably be Kevin, maybe Darian, will NSC keep the mask mandate in classrooms next semester, even if and when the governor lifts his mandate?
Well, I'll take a stab, and then our job is always to toss the question to Kevin. So my perspective is, I don't know that yet. I think it will have to figure out what and how the governor, if there's a complete release of that mask mandate, and if there aren't any qualifying information, then we have to review that. We'll look at the health indices that are in our area and have those conversations. But given the fact that we are as an organization, hopefully well vaccinated, as we heard, both by employees and then also by our students, I think that's a positive sign. I'll also indicate, though, that there will be some people who will have exemptions because of religious and medical considerations. So how we manage and navigate that is going to be an important part of that conversation. So I can't say fully yes, but what I will say is maybe Kevin has a better answer. Kevin?
Sure. So there is a task force at NSCHE that is tasked with ensuring the COVID protocols on all NSCHE campuses. So if the governor does act, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be immediately applicable to NSCHE until it actually goes through this task force. They're making public decisions. The governor is making public decisions statewide and not micro-focused on campus environments. And so getting this through the lens of the task force is going to be necessary to ensure that it's adapted to the campus environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a question along the same lines, but will vaccinations be required to walk for graduation?
I don't know that. I would assume yes. One, that's a very tight facility. The folks are coming into, and so yeah, I would assume yes, but I'm assuming we'll also have an official statement about that when it's time for us to do it. But thank you for raising the issue. Some of the things I forget to speak specifically to. That's a really good one.
Yes, and another insightful question here is, if visitors don't have to be vaccinated, will that be taken into account when planning events, i.e. not having family, friends events that would attract potentially large amounts of unvaccinated people to campus, or at least hold these events after hours?
That's a great, what did you call that a moment ago? Point of interest. Insightful, very insightful. Thank you for that.
Okay. I believe we got through all of the questions. So I want to turn it over to Dr. Pollard for closing remarks, but I do want to thank everyone. We're still holding at over 100 participants. So thank you for taking the time. I also very much want to thank this rockstar team that does all of the behind the scenes and makes this possible. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Pollard.
Thank you. Let me just end on a note. I literally was putting this out on social media because I think it's important. The notion of back and bold, and Vicki said it a moment ago, Tony says it oftentimes, what do we want to be great at? And I would offer to you, Nevada State, what we are great at is meeting students where they are. By being flexible, by making sure that we are aware as an institution what those populations of students that we specialize in need. So one of the things I've been hearing in my listen and learn conversations that many of us in our descriptor, we start off oftentimes saying we are a Hispanic serving institution, we are an MSI institution, we're an AAPI institution. My question to you, what's the verb of that, serve? And sometimes in that serving means as an institution, we decide and choose to do things differently as an institution than what other institutions of higher education do, because we recognize and take profound joy in the student populations that we serve. We recognize that our value proposition is that we meet them where they are. And for most of our students who are at any given point, 30 to 40% in any semester are first generation. The idea and the act of coming to school, whether that be physically in our spaces or virtually, is one that we have taken great pride and ownership in. So I'm going to ask you, with back and bold, this is a reclaiming of what we do well at Nevada State. It is this it is claiming our joy. It is recognizing that at the end of the day, service to our students and to our fellow employees as an institution is something that we are known for across this NCHI system. We're known for this in this region. And I have a sneaking suspicion that there are more of us who want to show up for our students and for our colleagues than not. And to do that in very intentional, doing it in very deliberate ways is a part of what we specialize in. Yes, we will be innovative. Yes, we will explore hybrid. We're going to get very, very, very good at trying to figure out how we evolve to meet our needs as employees and also our needs for our students. But I also know that the reset is going to happen as we start to negotiate this in the spring semester. And I'm excited to be coming back and seeing everyone and getting engaged with our students, and all those activities that Stephanie talked about, all the ones that Tony talked about we'll be doing for employees. It's a part of us reclaiming our joy and our ethos as an institution. So I'm going to do the thing that I've been saying to a lot of you in other spaces: come help me carry the water. That's a part of our work right now. And it is going to mean a lot of opportunities for us to continue to have these dialogue, but I think more importantly for us to actually just start to do the work in some very deliberate ways. Thank you so much. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time, okay? Bye.